Welcome back to Let's Play Higurashi when they cry Khan Matsuribayashi. Whatever. Oh, why did I was debating for several minutes and then I was like, oh, you know what? Why not? Let's do some recording. I'll be uploading the previous part later today. But I'm like, man, it's one of those days where you're just like, you can't be bothered because, well, not only that, but my eye is like, ow, and here I am deciding to record for, of all LPs, one where I have to read a lot. What a stupid decision. Let's get on with it. Just like restart the laptop because of a Windows update, right? And it's added a weather toolbar that immediately was like, okay, what's this? Just like Google it, it's like, okay, it's one of the more recent updates. It's like, you know, it's like Windows like, hey, let's put in these things. And the immediate response to that is, okay, how do I disable it? I haven't disabled it right now, but I gotta leave it there for now. But if it gets in the way, because it takes up space on the taskbar there. The current temperature is 15 degrees Celsius. The weather is a haze. It has been a haze for 2 days now, which is the type of weather that makes you want to just go to bed and sleep for the whole day because fuck it. Anyways, so we've got all of them now, right? So that means we can set up the board, maybe? Oh, I guess it's going in order. Orikakushi technically came before Hinamizawa, but at the same time, Hinamizawa came before Orikakushi. And what I mean by that is, question arc-wise, like in release, when in the order Orikakushi... Oh, it's even different there as well, because it was Watanagashi after that, and then it was Simbara Horoboshi, I think, was the third question arc. I was getting mixed up with Tatari Goroshi, but I'm assuming that was the third one. Fourth one is Matsuribayashi, but it's kind of like Matsuribayashi takes place prior to the events of the main, you know, story, so it makes sense for it to be over here. Let's go for it. They'd be like, the game board's not set up yet. This piece is the only one that's so distorted. That's because it's from long before June 1983. I mean, you know, I felt Matsuribayashi was probably the weakest arc in the whole thing because it was short, it was more focused on Akasaka and Oishi, and the only, you know, character that's like we see of the main group of friends was just Rika, really. There was like, it was okay, but it lacked a lot of, you know, the charm, you know, and even to, you know, because like it was more focused on them just trying to find like the damn woman's kidnapped son. It wasn't really focused on like, okay, the mysteries of, you know, we pretty much know what the whole mystery is now. But, you know, back then for those arcs, it's like, oh, this is so mysterious. What could be behind this mysterious instance? What is all going on in the background? What could it be? You know, well, with this one, Matsuribayashi, was it? It was just like, it's okay, I guess. But it's just like, Keiichi was a far better protagonist. Therefore, the existence of this piece has no effect whatsoever in the game we're playing on this board. Then why do you even have it? It's like, this is the worst, most useless piece, but at the same time, it's like, no, it's also a vital piece. I mean, they're not just gonna have like that question arc, introduce this new character, ignore him up until the previous arc, where he made a cameo appearance. Like, Rika was like, wait, he's going to help change fate as well. It's going to be great. And then, you saw how that played out. If you saw the previous arc, didn't go too well, and he pretty much was useless. He was just like, oh hey, Rika, long time no see. Anyways, I'm off to Hot Springs with my wife, bye. It's like, some help there, but it's clearly everything has to come together perfectly, and that includes this character, obviously. Anyways, let's continue reading. But this is really a useless piece. The identity of Rule Y has been completely exposed by now. With the backing of a mighty organization, it is powerful enough to swallow up the small solidarity of individuals. I must give up on the game because of its irrational power. It's like, you introduced this character in this arc, and then you don't even bother to reference him until the next to last arc. Ridiculous. That's why I'm thinking that maybe there's a piece hidden somewhere not strong enough to fight against such a formidable enemy. Mamoru Akasaka works at the police headquarters in Tokyo and might have the power to stand up to such a vast conspiracy. Can his power withstand even Rule Y? Just like my Barakechi defeated Rule Z, will he be able to defeat Rule Y so easily? We need everyone's strength, so Akasaka's strength is needed as well. That's it? As underwhelming as the character himself. It's like, hey, Akasaka's cool, man. We don't really get to see much of his character, really, do we? Right? Compared, like, the first 3 question arcs, had, Keiichi as the protagonist. So I kind of got used to that formula, and then the 4th one throws a curveball. It's like, different protagonist, different time. I just thinking, it's like, thinking of an example, South Park. Like back, well, they probably have still done stuff like that. But there was this one episode with this character called Pip, and they did like, what was it, Great Expectations kind of thing, where they like focused on the character Pip and his family, and they were basically telling the story of it, but in their kind of, South Park way, style, and all that. And people are like, it's a shit, where's the usual cast? That's what Matsuribayashi kind of feels like, It's like, where are the rest of the characters? Fuck these people, who cares? Like, no matter who is there. Well, I guess that does make it a bit different, because, the only character that was, in the main South Park episodes and all that, well, barely ever there, and then he got killed off randomly years later, but Pip, that's the only character that is, like, recognizable. All the other characters are just, like, there for the adaptation. So you don't really have much of the usual thing to go by. It's like, what are these new characters? It's like, this is telling a single story of the book. I don't care about no books, no stories. Bring in my usual things, like, Kenny getting killed per episode and shit, and Stan and Kyle learning some bullshit lesson and Cartman being an asshole. Where's that? None of those characters are even in that episode. So kind of like that, It's like, where's Keiichi? Where's Mion? Where's Rena? Where's Satoko? There's Rika, but that's all. You don't get anyone else. Well, yeah, Riichi, like I said, but still. Anyways, let's go to Onikakushi Fragments. Oh, we actually get to see something in this one, as opposed to just being like, let's stare at a crystal, showing like random transitions of characters and stuff on it, because Matsuribayashi didn't really, well, most of it was like, Oishi and Rika really were the only characters I recall that actually had, character portraits in that arc. So it wasn't really much of an arc to look at from a visual standpoint, because there were barely any characters on screen. I guess you could say it was from a visual standpoint, from the backgrounds and all that. But, backgrounds without the characters on screen just doesn't seem, It's like, no, I was going to mention this later on in this record session. Let me just, where is it? What was it called? The channel. Stumble across the channel, right? I was like, well, first I'll go on about, like, I was like rewatching some Zeta Plays videos, and that was the Zeta Plays I freaking, watched on and off since like 2009, I think. And he started in 2008, but besides the point. I was like rewatching some of the, because he randomly like plays all kinds of games. He's got this thing called the Wheel of Crap, and he's got all these ROMs of various Super Nintendo, NES, Genesis, and all that games, and he just picks them out random. And sometimes, throughout the years, he's come across, of all things, sound novels on the Super Nintendo, all completely in Japanese, and he'd make up a story as it goes on, because he's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, I'll make up my own story, and it's hilarious. But I was like, but what are the stories like? Like, what are they? And there's a YouTube channel that actually has done a translation for various sound novels on the Super Nintendo, all of which I'm looking at pretty much were played on that channel as well. The channel's called Tara A. Devlin. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is for a few reasons. I mean, I was going to save this for the end of the recording because there's kind of a bit of a ramble as well. But I definitely think that those sound novels on the Super Nintendo were probably like the very first of their kind. And Higurashi is a sound novel. It's could see as a visual novel, but it's seen as a sound novel as well. So those early sound novels must have been an inspiration, clearly, for, the Higurashi series. Got ones like, I'm not sure if Otokuiriso, the pronunciation on that, had an influence on it, but it has like a kind of more of a drawn background. There's no actual characters on screen. And then you got other ones, like, this is the one I maybe stumbled upon the channel, which has a very Higurashi-like kind of vibe to it. Although I've never seen Twin Peaks, but it kind of has a similarity to that, I suppose, in a way. But Majutachi no Nemuri, set in a rural village, murder, death, mystery, very Higurashi-esque, but I suppose more Twin Peaks-esque. But again, I've never seen it, but I've, it seems like that's 3 different, well, if you count the sound novel as a game, then there's 3 different games I can think of. And they're all Japanese made that seem to be inspired by Twin Peaks in some way. You got the Persona series, you got that Velvet Room, is apparently similar in a way. You got Deadly Premonition, which is more than a little similar. And then you got that one that I just mentioned, the novel. Seem to be quite influenced by that show. I've never seen it though. But yeah, I can imagine, these early sound novels, definitely inspiration for Higurashi series. And the odd thing is, like, the other ones, like I completely forgot to mention, they didn't have, the anime art style. Like, they'd have, like, these kind of backgrounds where they're just photos, but given a kind of sort of posterized effect, So they'd have that, and then for characters, they just have silhouettes of people on screen, which I find to be a bit odd, but, that was the style at the time, the anime stuff didn't come, with the art style till later on. And the other point I was going to make is, like, seeing them translated, I'm just like, why can't more visual novels be like that? I mean, I don't really see them story-wise as being anything like, wow, that's amazing or anything, but just the variety, man. None of them even take place in a school. It's great. Like that one that takes place in a village. No school shit. I mean, the mystery is about, like, a murdered school teacher, but it's nothing to do with school, none of that shit. It's solving a mystery in a rural village. It's interesting in that way. It's a different type of... It's just like... And then there's one that's on a boat. There's one at a ski place. None of that high school drama bullshit, Well, maybe it does have some of that in some of them to an extent, Bit of romance here and there in some of these novels. But, it's not quite the same as, the cliches that would come with a lot of visual novels. That is really kind of drawn out. And, yeah. kind of really going off on a ramble, and I was also randomly browsing through the PlayStation Store on the PS4. It's like, oh god, how long is it going to ramble on for? I'm surprised to see there's actually visual novels on there. It's like, they're not like labeled as such, you know, there's not like finding genre, but I did stumble across a few and I was like, I mean, that is just so bizarre, the idea. I mean, I've heard like the novels like Clannad are on consoles, but for whatever reason, you got like these novels that are actually being released in English on the PS4, but not Clannad. No, that's Japan exclusive still on that. But the idea of like playing or rather reading a visual novel on a console is just so weird to me. But anyways, and you know, a lot of them just like browsing through the plot summary is like, yep, that sounds pretty cliche. There was one that was like, I don't know. It had like a not 3 stars, like something about maybe 4-star rating. Didn't have many ratings on it, so maybe it's mediocre, I don't know. But one that was like, okay, maybe that one could be interesting to check out. I forget what it was called. I was just like browsing through them. There's one that was set in like a cabin or some shit. It was like, at least that one doesn't take place in a school, so just based on that, it's gotta be at least slightly more interesting, even if it does have the same cliches. I just was surprised there's visual novels on there, man. That's weird. Anyways, let's get on with it. In order for Keiichi to become a game piece that can lead everyone, there's something he has to learn about first. The piece is that very painful, pitiful, and sad. The piece that's, did I say it properly? He has to learn about his friends, and he has to learn to not doubt them. He doesn't know the importance of trusting his friends. He doesn't know just yet. Also get the cursor there. A slight mistrust grows into paranoia. Oh god damn it, piss off. And Keiichi is trapped within Rule X. It's like, already, man, that thing that I mentioned, the weather report thing, just like scrolled over and it just pops up, it's like, fuck off. It's like, you're not gonna last long on the task while if you do that, man. Gets in the way. At the end of Rule X, Keiichi leaves a sad note and dies. While it may be very bitter and very painful, it also puts him through the process of learning something very important. Man, this first part of this record session is going to be absolute garbage, because I went on for a ramble for so long that, you know, I can imagine someone just stumbling upon this video and be like, get on with it, this is shit, man. Get on with the story. I will. Hey, Hanyu. You didn't have to apologize. In the few days he left Hinamizawa to attend his relative's funeral. Tragically, he experienced an outbreak. But I think this was necessary. This is the first step towards learning something important. The very first steps towards smoking out Rule X and eventually defeating it. When this piece was all I had, I didn't even think of that, though. It's like it is necessary for Keiichi to at least go mad and claw out his own throat and, you know, the other things he did in Higurashi, in order for him to grow as a character. Man, these are really short. I think my rambling went on longer than both of those so far. I mean, what's the, you know, gonna be like when the game board... I mean, it says the game board must be set up, which it is, because we go through these. But am I gonna have to, like, put everything in order? Because that's gonna be a nightmare. Wait. Oh, yeah. I was looking at the bottom. It's like, fragment from Onikakushi needed. So it's like, oh, yeah, because, wait. Hold on a minute. Never mind. It's gotta be Tatarigoroshi was the third question arc then. I was getting confused. Like I always do, because they both start with a T. But yeah, Onikakushi followed by that. That's the answer arc to that. Question arc, answer arc, question arc, answer arc. And then That's a bit odd, isn't it? It's like, and the answer arc to the arc we're playing. Really, it should be like this one, you know? You could see this as a... I mean, Hinamizawa doesn't really have an answer arc counterpart, really, but you could see it as this one. But this one is an answer arc to all of the arcs, so... a bit weird, this one's like the odd one out. Anyway, let's get Sumuri... Actually, should I? Sure, why not? Because I was thinking, maybe go question arcs out of the way first. You know what? When indecisive, there is one way to make a decision. The Specsavers case. It's like, anyone who's not... I've seen a video where I've done this before with my Specsavers case and, you know, used it like a coin flip. It's just like, what the hell are you talking about? Specsavers logo is heads. Specsavers non-logo side is tails. Heads for question, not heads, which I guess tails, for answer. So, did I do that right? Question, answer. Okay, go. It's heads. So, that was question, right? Okay, let's go for the question ones first. Watanagashi. This game piece reminds us that no matter what happens on this game board, everything is due to the curse of the Sonosaki family pulling someone's strings. No, to put it in my words, this is the piece that makes everyone aware of the existence of Rule Z. Couldn't we have, like, a board or something, you know, in the background to be like, okay, this is Rule Y, this is Rule X, here's Rule Z, and whatnot, blah, so I can kind of remember which these established rules represented again. It's hard to notice with just this piece, but this is a complicated fragment where Shion Sonozaki, while trapped in Rule X, mistaken it for Rule Y, is hurled about. Comes to notice the existence of Rule Z. This is also the piece that teaches us the rule of the game board. Rules. What were the rules again? By the way, the piece called Shion Sonozaki is a piece coming from the outside, from the game's point of view. She dislikes Satoko Hojo at first, but through this and another piece, she learns something important. Challenges Rule X and then grows to be a powerful piece to fight Rule Z. Oh yeah, I guess Rule Z would be, Takano and, the whole Rika dying and all that. Most ridiculous part of this fragment is that it's hidden so cunningly and doesn't seem that way at all with just a passing glance. Yeah, one moment. Right, I'm back. Learn from your mistakes. Please become a powerful beast and lend me your strength to defeat my enemies. Again, these are really short. Tatari Higurashi. This piece shows us the existence of the unreasonable Rule Z surrounding Satoko. Oh wait, no, I think Rule Z is like, I suppose, a worst case scenario for a character, and reveals that the most powerful adversary rule on the game board, Rule Y. Can the rules X, Y, and Z be seen now? The enemy we need to fight, the things we need to learn, all are gathered and revealed here in this fragment. At this point, it's impossible to reach Rule Y. Fighting against Rule Z's effect on Satoko is the best that can be done. But in this place, we make a mistake in our approach for fighting it. The outcome we gain through erroneous means is erroneous itself. Keiichi Maibara learned that through his own experiences. Tragedy doesn't possess the power to overcome tragedy. Violence doesn't possess the power to overcome violence. If they can grasp that, all the pieces on this game board will learn the true way to fight. But Takano is too powerful. The shocking end of this beast doesn't allow us to learn it that easily. My god, they really are short. Feels like it's just one page, really. Yeah. Oh wait. Okay. I guess we're done with the question arcs. Answer arcs. Sumaronoboshi. This game piece has a very important meaning for us. Not that you can remember it off the top of your head, but because it showed us for the first time that it was possible to poke a hole in the fate of the June of 1983. Oh yeah, when, Keiichi was able to, stop Rena on her rampage. To start from the conclusion, everything gets taken in by Rule Y at the end, and all our efforts is wasted. So Rule Y is need a chart or something. Well, not a chart, but it's just like that'd be a funny sight. Just like Rika and Hanyu in like this kind of dark abyss-like place. There's like a blackboard, not the evil blackboard, because well, yeah, the evil blackboard. Why not? I'm not gonna do the voice though. I don't even know what the hell I'd say in that voice right now. But just a board, right? And they've got like Rule Y, X, and Z, and Rika's like pointing at things and like occasionally rubbing out and writing things in. It's like, okay, so in this arc, Rena went crazy, Rule, blah, and things would have gone to this rule if not for this rule where Keiichi stepped in and changed this rule. But in the end, it was all for nothing because Rule Y fucking sucks. But we're challenging the great law that governs this game board. Rule X, head on. We're using everything we learned so far from other fragments, which prove we can defeat it. We grow by learning. In a game with no hope of winning, we can discover a slight chance of victory. This piece taught us that. With this game piece, Rule X was almost completely defeated. Keiichi Maibara and our other friends won't be led astray by something as pathetic as the Hinamizawa syndrome and dance in tragedy any longer. Oh, wait. Yeah, I guess. That's basically Rule X. I'm confused by your rules here. Rule Y and X. Is Y the big one? I guess it could be, because X comes before Y. But then again, is Z? Said Y was the one that made it all for nothing. But what about Z? Which rule represents what? But it says almost completely defeated. So I was thinking Rule X in this scenario is Rena, gets the effects of Hinamizawa syndrome, goes crazy. But Keiichi stops that, so it's completely defeats Rule X. But if it's not completely, then that's not necessarily Rule X. This is all a bit confusing. Damn it did it again with the weather report. It has also taught us that the rules aren't indestructible and are possible to overcome. In other words, it has given us, the ones who are on the outside of the game board, hope. It's an important fragment that serves as our turning point and the trigger for everything else. Very short scenes. Fragments. They can't even call them scenes, really. They really... it's just like dialogue. Well, I guess you could see it as dialogue. It's like the novel's kind of breaking down the fourth wall and discussing the plot with us. It's like, so as you can see here, Rule Y is a bitch. As all these rules are a bitch, really. They're kind of hard to overcome. We need all the vital pieces and the perfect game in order to win this ridiculous game of chess with Takano. I guess that's the thing, really. It's like, for the most part, they've eliminated all of the other threats at least once. now. Actually, could see it technically twice they've done that, if you really think about it. Like I said, which arc was it? Sumer Horoboshi. They defeated, the tragedy of that, but, Rule Y overrid all of that in the end because, Takano's plan that they had no clue about at all at that point. They found out in the other answer arc, which we're going to look at here. Wait, actually, no, it's over here, right? Yeah. We'll find out in that one, and those two ones, they overcame the odds, but Takano's piece is way too strong. They can defeat all the other obstacles in their way. Granted, very hard-fought battle, but they're not prepared for Takano's piece. Makashi, this is the piece of Shion Zonozaki who goes mad after being taken in by Rule X. Okay, it's starting to seem like Rule X really is Hinamizawa syndrome. So if that's the case, then they have, overcome it by now, surely. Come to think of it, did Rule X even happen in the previous arc? Well, actually it did, to an extent. Maybe, I guess. At least, it had that, potential for it to, happen to a few characters, really. But, that obstacle was overcome in that arc. With no room for sympathy, this is such a painful piece that one can only have pity. It distinctly identifies the keyhole of the padlock called Rule Z. Keiichi becomes a key himself to pry open this padlock. As Mion Sonozaki wished for, he becomes a wind that clears out the stagnant air filling the village. This piece also teaches us an important lesson. Shion Sonozaki learns through this piece, and then becomes a strong ally for Satoko Hojo. I guess, Takano, Tanagashi, and Makashi is basically the same arc because it pretty much is. It's just told from different perspectives. And that way, maybe Satoko Hojo is the piece that represents the padlock for Rule Z. Unless she is saved, Rule Z can't be defeated. And when she is saved, that means Rule Z is defeated. This piece indicates only that. That's the only thing Shion Sonozaki learned by gambling her life. But now I think that it's very important. Every time I see Satoko and Shion argue about pumpkins, I think about that. These really are short. It's basically just yes, Rule Y, Rule X, Rule Z. Here are vague details of what happened in that arc and what they mean to the rules. And that's that. Minaguroshi. We're almost there. The game piece that uncovers the invisible Rule Y that has been pulling the string from the beginning. Okay, Rule Y is Takano then. Because the impression of that is so strong, it's easy to forget about something very important. We can't forget that this piece also shows the path towards destroying Rule Z. While Rika lamented Rule Z as impossible to defeat, who was hardly a match for Keiichi Maibara, and the others once they learned everything they needed to. Is Rule Z Satoko's uncle showing up? Because, as was pointed out in that arc, that's the one thing that has never been overcome in all the worlds that her uncle's returned in. Has never been able to resolve that, without, a character going insane via Rule X, I suppose. But Keiichi, he overcame Rule X, and some other characters avoided Rule X, just barely in the case of Shion on that one. And, they were able to overcome Rule Z in the end, but then Rule Y was like, you didn't even know I was here. They knew the correct way to fight and fought according to the rules of the game board. As a result, we win, and that fact is more valuable than anything for us. Keiichi Maibara taught me a lesson. There is no need to subject ourselves to any fate. The will to believe can defeat anything. The fate that I was always subjected to was created by Mio Takano's own conviction. So what he says is correct. To defeat her conviction, we need a stronger conviction of our own. A strong will can be pierced only by another strong will. We defeated rules X and Z, then challenged the final rule, rule Y, but we needed more pieces. Why is rule Y the final rule? Shouldn't it be Z? It's like, no, we're not going in order like that. We're just using the last 3 letters of the alphabet. Wait, that just made me have a thought there, actually. I want to see what it actually looks in Japanese, because it's not quite the same there, is it? You can't have rule Y, X, and Z, because that doesn't exist like that in Japanese. So what would the rule look like in Japanese? Rule... Wait, does that... Never mind. Never mind. Rule X, Y... Oh wait. Where's 0 then? Did it say 0 in that line? Rule X. Oh wait, it's right there. Z. It's like rule X to Z ni something 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 no rule Y. They don't have, letter L doesn't exist in Japanese, so, it's like ru. It's like ru. It's a bit odd, really. Must be a pain in the ass if you're Japanese and trying to speak English. You're like, there's too many pronunciations I don't understand. How do you pronounce the letter L? I keep pronouncing it as an R. It's really confusing. Then again, I could say the same learning, Japanese from English. It's a bit of, very different language. Anyways, each piece fought at its best, but the strength of our enemy's piece led by me and Takano were just too powerful. She didn't even give us mercy. She squished us completely and made us restart the game all over again. It's like, Takano, you bitch, you unplugged the console. That's cheating. Although we lost, we didn't give up the resolve in our hearts. Because we have finally found the true culprit. And also found a clue for how to fight against her. We can't win with the pieces we have now. We don't have a powerful enough conviction or a strong enough will. But Hanyu and I will keep trying. We'll roll our die repeatedly, look for the greatest result, collect pieces, and try again. With a will stronger than Takano. Didn't you think of giving up several times before you got to this point? Who is this perspective from? Because is it Rika? Is it like breaking the fourth wall? It's like, did you give up on this series? You were thinking, you know what? Fuck it, this is getting too depressing. It's just like, you just bring up hope spots and then you're like, bam, they all died. Happy ending. That's not a happy end, man. It's depressing. It's like, well, that's the best you're gonna get. Like, no, we must overcome this somehow. But you made it because you believed in me and followed me here. We're almost there. We can do it. Let's create the last piece. It will be the ultimate piece, and we won't need anything else. The very last piece of all. Come on, let's collect the pieces. Let's collect miracles. Please give your hopes, desires, and dreams to me. Or in other words, keep reading. To get to the conclusion of the story. Although there is probably going to be probably the most interaction that these novels have had up to this point when I get through this last one here, I assume. Fragment of Matsuribayashi. And there's like piece not connected. After collecting miracles from all 7 fragments, I finally got a hold of this one. Or is it just going to be like, nah man, we couldn't be bothered to actually have like, I mean it was all leading up to you like putting them in order or anything. No, we're not going to have any of that. We just want you to go through all of them. And then go through the little fragments at the end of it all and be like, okay, that's done. On with the story again. After collecting miracles from all 7 fragments, I finally got a hold of this one. This fragment holds our final fates. But before we take a peek, please wait for just a little bit. I mean, you've only been waiting several years from Let's Playing these now to get to this point. fate that's inside will be decided the moment we take a peek. Have I told you about the story of the cat in the box? Oh yes, I remember that. Is the cat in the box alive or dead? I remember that. Can't remember which arc this question was in, but it was like, up to that point, it's like, where you had a choice to pick, it'd be like, but it ultimately didn't mean anything, it's just kind of there. If you open the box, you'll know, but you won't know until you open it. At least, I think it was like, there might have been two cases. I think the cat one might have been one you got a choice on, maybe not, I can't remember. There's definitely one with a sweet or something. You'd be like, okay, now it's like, pick which box to open or something like that. It's like, oh, you got this. It's like, but what if you pick the other one? Can't go back to do that. Not like save points are a thing you can do in this. And, you know, reload and see what the other option is or anything. Anyway, it could be alive and it could be dead. In other words, before you open the box, the living cat and the dead cat simultaneously coexist. You know, I would say it's like you'd know the cat was alive because it would be moving around and the box would be like, but then again, cats love boxes. But then, I don't think cats would appreciate being in a box if the lid is closed on it. So I think they'd be, you know, a bit like, get me out of here, I love these cramped spaces, but not when it's closed in like this. Freaking cat god is like, obsessed with anything box-shaped. Even if it's tiny, will try to fit into it. It's like, what's up with cats and boxes, man? Box-shaped things in general. Or pretty much any cramped spots. I mean, how the hell do they fit themselves into the kind of like spots? They're like freaking octopus or something. Or at least they think they are. And, you know, by the fact they can actually do that, some of the times it's like, okay, maybe so. It's like, cat, like, goes down the side of my bed, right? It's like, I don't know how the hell she fits down there, because she's not exactly a kitten anymore. She's, you know, a big-ass cat. So I don't know how the hell she fits down there. But she does that, and the moment you open the box and find out the truth, the incorrect answer disappears. Inside this fragment is the same principle. The future we desire and the future Takano desires simultaneously coexist. They are opposing and denying each other. Once we take a peek, one of those features will disappear. If we have enough pieces, we can take a look inside its fragments. Has this music actually ever played? I didn't recognize that bit of music. I was like, has this track ever played? Or has it played but never for this long? Did I read the previous line? I always have a habit of doing that. Enough pieces and look inside its fragments. But we've only had the same pieces lined up the same way on the game board. And the game under the same condition was Takano's complete victory. We've already tried that in the Higurashi fragments. We need more pieces. We need the help of a piece that's powerful enough to defeat Rule Y. Till I get a hold of that piece, it's too scary to take a peek inside its fragments. I guess the piece that was missing there, I mean, if you see Hanyu as a piece, that's, you know, another vital piece. And, you know, in Higurashi, Akasaka, you know, he appeared, but he didn't do nothing. So he's clearly a vital piece, you know, on this board to change the turn of events, the tide, you know. But how do I get such a piece? It's a piece I've never gotten a hold of before. To obtain it, I need to look just one more time. I need one more miracle to obtain that piece. But all the pieces of, well, we haven't really... Are we gonna set up the board now? Or is it just like, okay, put them in order? Well, okay. Leftover fragments. Do you need the final miracle? It's like, do you really need it? Nah, let's exit. That'll do for this novel. Okay, so this means no, of course not. I mean, there's like no point in doing that, but scroll back and just see. Maybe now he's changed things there as well. Leftover fragments it is.